smooth like takeoff we've ever had in Be Live. It was exciting.
The stutter.
All right, so today we are talking about the Z, the big Z, right?
Yeah.
So all of the activity lately, showing time, all kinds of things that I've seen people post about coming after listings, all this stuff is going on. All kinds of agents have been up in a frenzy, asking questions, making assumptions. So what does it mean for you and how you can make it not impact your business whatsoever?
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know about whatsoever, but I mean, I think lessen the impact. I'm really concerned, Jake, about the things that are happening in the industry for the long term. You know, I've talked about this with you. I don't know if I've ever talked about it on the live. But you know, it takes time to change consumers' behavior, right? It can take a generation sometimes, and I know I've talked about the Nestle and the coffee that they sold in Japan from the book The Culture Code, and how they waited. Like what they did was they started feeding the kids candy flavored coffee in order to get them indoctrinated because they were tea drinkers over there. And now they sell so many tons of coffee per year because of that plan. And for me, that level of thinking, you know, a lot of different cultures think generationally, you know, and a lot of different corporations do. I mean, you were the one who taught me that there should be a 100-year plan for a company. And I was like, I'm not trying to do that. You know, like, you know what I mean? Like, especially in technology, 100 years from now, I hope that we're all floating around in flying cars and everything is, you know, holograms and stuff, and just walk into a hologram house, and yeah, I'll take it, you know. But what I see and what bothers me is that they're moving all these chess pieces in this direction, and we know their background, right? Their background is taking over the travel industry and really knocking that out, you know, and I lament sometimes because I would love to have a good travel agent. The problem is now that they've removed the veil, so to speak, I know that the cost is you know, more than the value, to the point where it's like, just get on Expedia and do it myself, you know, or Travelocity or Kayak or whatever, you know. And so I can't help but feel like we're kind of the frog in the pot, and they are just moving these pieces, you know, one by one, to checkmate as much as they can in the industry. And as agents, I mean, we've got to do something to stop it, you know, at least for our own personal business as much as we can. And you know, like I told you, I think that agents, we all think that we're competing with each other. And we don't realize that, you know, game theory, you change one rule of the game, the whole game has changed. The game has changed where, you know, we're now in competition, not with just each other. In fact, we should be more in arms with each other to combat these huge external threats with billions of Wall Street dollars, you know, like Zillow, you know. So
and it was telling for me, you know, like we've seen the rise of EXP, right? Like they just released their earnings for 2020. It was like smashing it. Their stock took a giant jump yesterday, blah, 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 right? And you look at that, and their market cap has gotten to the point where it's like $9 billion, right? So their company on the open market currently is worth about $9 billion, which is a lot of money, right?
Yep.
A drop in the bucket. Zillow's like 45 billion.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. It's that. It's mind-boggling, really. I mean, and you know, what do they actually produce? You know, I mean, like,
it's
they're an intermediary in the transaction, and you know, I mean, they're trying to get that platform, you know, consumer goodwill, and let me tell you, they'll eventually get it. I mean, they're going to roll out, what I read recently is in some markets, the Zestimate will be the price that they buy your house for. Imagine being able to go look and see what you could sell your house for and click the button. Yeah, I'm out of here. Like, that's a dream come true. I don't think that that's going to go off without a hitch. I mean, I think that they're going to have some serious trouble. You know, I told you they had overvalued a house that I recently sold by $200,000, which, you know, is significant. So, you know, I mean, like the Zillow was $200,000 more than the market value of the home. And so, yeah.
I saw when I read that, I went and looked at some around me, and they had removed them, right? So like, whoop, like they must be resetting how they're doing that or whatever. Because when they first came with offers into Dallas, I just went through the process to kind of see what it was like.
Yeah.
And so I had a Zestimate on my house, and then the offer was like 15% less than what the Zestimate was. So I'm sure that they're taking whatever algorithm, but you go back and I did this with you probably about a week ago or so, and I was like, do you know what Zillow's revenue was last year?
Like, I don't recall. What did you say?
Like $3 billion.
Oh yeah. But
insane revenue.
What was the amount on research and development?
It was like $500 million.
Yeah,
$500 million in R&D.
So think about that for our industry. There's arguably 1.2, 1.3 million agents in North America, and you got this company spending $500 million on research and development. Now, for those of you, most people don't know that there is a significant tax incentive to have a good deal of your revenue over in that bucket of R&D. You do get tax credits for that from the government, but it doesn't matter. I mean, what the heck are they researching $500 million worth in our industry? I'll tell you what it is. It's how to capture more of the roughly $60 billion in commission industry that is out there, right? That's what it is. And even that is a pittance in comparison to, I think, a lot of their plans, because the big money is in the house itself and being able to, slice a piece off that transaction. And, I look, I don't have anything against them necessarily. I mean, they're a force of business and of nature that is allowed to exist because they provide value to the marketplace in a way that gives them the right to do what they're doing. But I think as agents, we have to be smart and we have to band together. And how that happens, I'm not fully crystallized on, but I know this. I know that if you only have one pillar or a significant pillar, and that is it, you are in trouble. You need to have multiple pillars of, lead generation, marketing, right? Like all to have your business more secure. So if they go and they switch on you, you're not stuck or out of business or becoming an employee for Zillow, right?
Yeah, and that was right after they bought Showing Time, and that just created like all kinds of questions with data and how it's going to work. And I saw somebody post like immediately they logged into Showing Time and they started charging for stuff that wasn't charged for before, like seemingly in the next week. But like the day after it was announced, I watched a live with Tom Ferry, and he was talking about that. And he was like, I think it was 70 or 80% of your business if it's coming from one lead generation source. So not somebody that's running at, like, for us, we manage your marketing budget, right? We don't sell you leads.
Right.
But for the Zillows and Realtor.coms of the world, like if the vast majority of your business comes from there, you are essentially an employee because you are the tail. You are not the dog, right?
Yeah, and absolutely. And I think a lot of people are like, oh, could they really? Would that even really work? Is that really going to happen? Well, we're going to find out. And, there's a couple of things that I would remind you. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve, right? So they got all these people there with all this brain power and all this cash, and they got a brain suck, right? Like of smart people that are thinking in these directions. And then it takes a little bit of time to change the consumer behavior, but it's already changing. And, especially with the market as hot as it is. I was shocked when my sister, she sold her house through Zillow. And I was like, well, you're dead to me now. but she really did.
Hello.
Yeah. She also bought it through another agent. So, yeah,
Actually,
whatever.
But
it's a while back. Still love you.
It is really interesting. And this is the one thing that I whenever I'm talking to somebody that has like the inkling to be like, I want my website to be the place that people go to search, right? Mm-hmm. And that is a very good thing to have. The only way you can do that is my belief is if you just have somebody that has a personal preference that just like the way that yours is, and that's more luck of the draw than anything else. Right. But when you have a company that's dropping $500 million a year and already has a technology that's unbelievable, like it's hard to try and compete at that level, at that game,
Yeah,
if it's just you, right? Like that's just not going to happen. Like you've got like what?
Well, let me push back. I disagree. I disagree because I saw a lady. She commented on like one of our posts recently. She was like, "Well, unless everybody goes and stops advertising, or unless Redfin and Zillow die, good luck getting people to your own website." And I'm like, that's just a closed mind mentality. She's just totally wrong, because the good news is the consumers, they still don't care, right? Like they still are monogamous when it comes to where they're going to search for homes. That's why we still are able to generate crap tons of leads for a cheap amount of money, cost per lead wise, for our customers, because the customer, and especially on a local level, like that's where you take it to them, because they're so broad, right? Their marketing is just this high top level, right? Broad, just swath of the market. They're not going down and saying, all Frisco homes, you know what I mean? Like search this. And now obviously they have some what's called dynamic keyword insertion for Google and whatnot, but it's still a very easy time for the agent to compete on a local level against these portals. And that's what I mean by having multiple pillars. If you have multiple pillars, you're going to be able to compete,
Yes, which yeah. I agree, the driving of traffic, right? But if someone has been trained, like my wife, right, is trained to go to Zillow to look, right? Like once that happens, there's no point of trying to fight that current, right? Unless you can have a conversation and be like, this is why it's probably not the best idea, right? Like the first time I had a conversation with somebody where I was going to Zillow and then I got access to an actually direct feed to the MLS. And I was like, oh, wait, so there's some difference here, right? Like it doesn't update as fast. I don't get notifications as quickly, right? Like it's faster over here. And when you're looking and you're actually, like, especially in a market like this, that's a real concern. Like minutes matter right now. So like you have a chance, but you have to be able to explain that to somebody, right? But you're always going to be able to get traffic, because like most people I think are probably like me. I've got a real estate folder on my phone and it's like all kinds of apps, right? Yeah. Like, and it's just like whatever I feel. I use different ones for whenever I'm looking at different things. It's weird, right?
That is weird. That is weird. Why don't you just pick one? We're gonna have a discussion about that later.
Yeah,
tell me what you like about each one.
I don't understand.
Curious.
Maybe market research, but I don't know. But I just have done that. But my wife has the same thing. She's got like 4 that she goes back and forth, and she doesn't use the same one each time. Zillow is probably the most common one, Redfin, whatever it may be, right? So
what's interesting? I never use Zillow, but continue.
Really?
I just feel like never.
That's interesting.
No, it's not because I dislike them or because I think their tech is faulty. It's just I never use it. Like if I'm going to use any outside app, it's usually Realtor, which is weird. Yeah.
So with it, right? Like the way you win is relationship, right?
Yeah.
Because like we've learned this even with big giant companies, you try to have this charismatic figure, right, that you can connect with, right? So Tesla got Elon Musk, Apple had Steve Jobs, Amazon has Jeff Bezos, right? Like everybody has a story that you like fall into, and there's some trust built, and there's some with a person, not a corporation, because like we're programmed to not really like the man, you know what I mean? Like the big corporations are evil, is kind of how we've been programmed from a very young age. So you've got to have this connection, and on a local level, a community level. I talked to an agent this morning. She's 77 years old, been in the business for 14 years.
Okay. I like this gal. She's like my hero.
I like, we had the best conversation this morning. But she was Air Force for 22 years, got out, ran 5 different, she was a director for a 911 dispatch that she had 5 different dispatches that she was in charge of. Did that for like another 15, 18 years, something like that. And then got into real estate, and she owns a restaurant, has something else. She's like, but I'm ready to go. I'll do the best. I don't care. I'm just going to help them. And I get my phone to ring just because people in my community know that I'm trustworthy and ridiculously hardworking, and I'm going to take care of them. And so we had a conversation, right? Yep. And I was like, okay, so you have this at a local level, and the trust and you're going to help them regardless of if they can buy a house right now or they can sell a house right now. She's going to legitimately give them the best thing. She's not in it for me, whatever it may be, right? Which that comes back around. So we just had a really, really good conversation. And but it depends on what your goal is and what you're trying to accomplish. But that relationship that she has can be amplified if she had a different platform besides just word of mouth.
Without a doubt. I mean, it's like adding fuel to the fire. I mean,
that's what I was like. I could take you and make you massive, right? Yeah. Like, I love you already, and we've talked for 20 minutes. And so, like, that's where the biggest difference is that I can see is like, and we've harped on this for a long time.
On a competition level.
Yes.
And I agree wholeheartedly. I mean, your brand is what you want to focus on to compete, right? Because they can't copy you. They can't do it. They just can't do it. And once you have a reputation in your market, and once people know who you are and like and trust you, and then you add fuel to the fire like Jake's talking about, where you have consistent pillars of lead generation, consistent pillars of branding and indoctrination for those leads in a way that is going to deliver a specific, repeatable, duplicatable result, rather. They can't mess with that unless they change over, I'm not worried about today. I'm not even worried about tomorrow for the industry. I'm worried about the next young buck. You know what I mean? Like, that's what concerns me, because, I was really reflecting, and I told you this on the industry. I was like, yeah, I mean, what would happen? I mean, it would be a shame, but, the sun would come up. I'd still make money, so it was okay. But I was like, wait a minute. Like, who would I really be without real estate? I mean, it's such a self-improvement industry. It's kind of like wrestling. I love it because, it's just you. Like, you either win or fail, and you can't blame it on anybody but yourself. So it's tremendous, responsibility there. And I thought it would really be a shame for that, to be disrupted. And so I think on a today level, the main thing that most agents could do is to look at where their business comes from and start to begin to build that brand in their market, build, that lead generation in their market. Obviously, some self-interest bias there, because that's what we do at Market Maker for our customers. But I really believe, like, with all my heart, that that's the path that everybody should be on in this industry, to make sure that they're controlling not just today, but also tomorrow. I always said whoever controls the leads controls the market. And, Zillow, I mean, they're controlling a lot of leads, but they can still be picked off on a local level, especially if you're investing in yourself and your brand, and people know, like, and trust you. And that's the main thing. That's the only way to get in front of this thing for right now, right? I do think that there needs to be some type of answer to these portals, and what that looks like. Obviously, nobody's figured out, but we've all allowed this to happen, and there's a lot of head in the sand stuff. Like, it's fine. My business is robust. I already got a brand. Yeah, that's great for you, but maybe care a little more about the next guy, right? Like, leave a step for the next agent coming up, right? So that he doesn't have to figure it all out himself or herself, or even worse, like, not have the ability to get into the industry in the way that we did. That's my feeling on the matter. And maybe it's too altruistic. Maybe, we're just too competitive to think like that. But that's what I got. That's where I'm at.
Yeah. And I was just going to nail home that point. I read something this morning from an agent that I've kind of watched from afar, where he first started. I think his first year he did like 40 or 70 or something crazy. Wow. And he's grown a pretty big team.
He's like a rock star. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I think he's like 4 years in now. But he put out a post this morning that was like all lead generation. And he was like, when I stopped generating leads, I hurt my business 3 months from now. And it's hard because it's like such a delayed thing that I know when I've not been as consistent as when I want to, but he had this whole like, hey, these are the things that I want everybody else to kind of realize, because I'm realizing it right now, and like, it's the lifeblood. And it's so funny because, like, literally every single person that I've seen become a top agent in their marketplace or across the country or whatever it may be, like, that is the one thing that they all say. Like you said that, Reese, Kinder, Jeff Cook, Brad, I mean, like, all of these people really, I mean, like, it's like the lifeblood, right? Like, it's the water.
It's the gasoline for the vehicle,
Right. It doesn't run when you run out of gas.
You don't fill up at that last gas stop. You're gonna feel it. It's gonna take a minute, but you're gonna feel it when you're on the side of the road. And then
you gotta walk. How long does that take? Right? It's better to just keep
and it does take time, and that's the problem. So like, when agents get started with us, a lot of times it takes time, and they're like, oh, look, if you need a deal tomorrow, this is not the way to go. I can tell you that. I mean, you might get lucky. A lot of people do get lucky, but it's not going to be an instant overnight. This is a long-term answer to a very complex problem in the industry, which is building up a database, having some consistency, right, in your commissions, and being able to plan and know the math. If you don't know the math, then, I mean, that's why I never shut anything off that didn't stop working. I mean, we were going over today in our marketing meeting. We were looking at different ads, and you're like, yeah, shut that one off. I'm like, whoa, what's that? You told me. I'm like, oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. We got that running for a
while. $35 cost per lead. Yeah, get that one out of here. Right?
I'm out.
Yeah, but you got to look at it. And a lot of agents, they just don't, because they don't run their business like a business. They'd rather just kind of meet with people, talk to people, and I've been guilty. Like, my paperwork sucked. I mean, it was embarrassing, I mean, for a long time. When I first moved to Missouri, I misspelled Missouri on one of my first contracts. The secretary's like, now, how do we spell Missouri? I was like, what are you asking me that for? She was like,
I just graduated high school.
Yeah, right. Like, they teach you how to spell Nebraska in Nebraska. Obviously, spelling Missouri, and I'm a good speller for the record. All right, I'm not a bad speller, all right? but I'm just going too fast or something, and Anyway, I'm getting off topic here. Yeah. Well, that's what everybody should be thinking about, right?
Yeah.
How to create basically their own destiny without relying on some third party out there, and that's a skill set. And it takes time to develop a skill. It's like going to the gym, lifting a weight. You ain't just going to grab the 100-pound dumbbells and start curling. You're going to have to start with wherever you're at, right? And you might not see the results in the first week, the first month, the first 2 months, but I guarantee you by month 3, people are going to start saying, hey, you look good. You're like, oh, really? I don't feel like I look any different, right? Yeah, and that's how it works. That's how it works with this. It's how it works with everything. I'll end with this, the saying that I was always given by my dad. He always says, if it was easy, son, everybody'd do it. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Everybody wants to be gold medalist. No one wants to train like one.
That's right. So listen, I'm going to take us out. If you want some help with this stuff, go to marketmakercall.com. That's what we do. Check it out. See if there are areas available. See if it's something that looks like it would be a mutual win. And fill out the form thing and come talk to us. How about that?
The form thing. I love it.
The form thing. Fill out the form thing.
I love it. The old form thing. That's the technical name in technology. So as we always say here at Market Maker, you are always one pre-position appointment away.
Every day.
Go get